Got fired on my first day because I refused to be disrespected. So apparently I just quit. Got fired on my first formal day. Some rude assistant manager got mouthy and didn't want to talk to me. We had a big order and I got the first few fries ready. The rest were cooking. Mind you, it's my first day and I'm doing fries with no training other than my previous experience in food. Rather than give cold fries, I left the ones we had under heater to stay warm. She starts snapping at me to load them into bags. I explain myself. She rudely shouts, "No, you do as you're told." So I said, "So I'll walk out before you talk to me like that." And she's like, "'Kay, bye." So I leave the situation to talk to GM and he was like, "Well, yeah, that's not okay, but that's how she is. So I'll probably have to ask you to leave." And she comes back and starts trying to say how she told me 3 times and I refused. I try to correct her and get a "go F yourself" look and told, "It's not your turn to talk." So I took off my apron and hat and said, "Nope, I'm out." She pops off again. So I told her, "F you and your sty attitude." GM tried to yell at me to GTFO. I told him, "Dude, I literally am. And now I'm having onion rings and a screwdriver slush at Spangles." My mental health, personal boundaries, and refusal to be disrespected is non-compromising. And I'll never again question walking away from any situation that requires me to sacrifice any. If you can't treat your employees right, you don't deserve to have them. Period. And if you can't see your leadership is not good, and refuse to correct it when it's called out, you're a shitty leader. Fuck Arby's owned by Flynn Restaurant Group. Obligatory edit. Thanks for awards, etc. It's been nice to hear your stories and see people hear my logic. I hope this post helps steer this community in the direction of shifting our view and putting our own needs first. No more sacrifices at our expense. Thanks to the mods for getting rid of the trolls. Love you bootlickers that let me prove my point. I don't authorize BuzzFeed or anyone to use my story without payment. Edit 2. I fixed how to hope in edit 1 cause I guess that matters to my brain and possibly that of others. The comments are fun to scroll, but I definitely am missing a lot. Thanks again to the trolls. It's time to get some rest and put down the phone. If you've been in this thread more than 15 minutes, please go stretch. Maybe wipe. Put the phone down. Or support your local non-kill animal shelter. I'm out. You made it out early, before you had to actually suffer under these asshats. I got fired for telling them to reimburse me for gas and mileage after a company made me switch locations. Later that same day, an employer I networked with called me to see if I was still interested. Plus it came with better pay and better benefits. Always bet on yourself. I got fired, quit once, because I refused to deep clean a restaurant for inspection, while on the clock as a server, relying on tips for a wage. That IHOP is gone now. Lol womp. I got fired, quit because I bought my manager lunch from her favorite restaurant. She was mad at how long I took even though she sent me there. It literally made no sense in my head and I wasn't about to get yelled at for no reason. Best walkout I've ever had, lol. I got fired once for standing up to a manager and telling them I'm not doing jobs I wasn't hired for. So it happens. Whatever, don't sweat, it happens to everyone. I cannot stand when a manager yells or verbally accosts an employee in a public area. It's so degrading. I'm your employee, not your child. If you have an issue, politely correct or take the time to pull the employee aside in private and discuss it. I used to have a boss that would come down the hall yelling at me in front of everyone and literally chase me when I tried to get away. It made me feel like she was my freaking mom. If I could go back, I'd do the same thing and ask her who she thought she was talking to like that. Good for you for standing up for yourself. And then the customers aren't happy because some crazy bitch decided to get them cold fries. Customers deserve nice warm meals and nobody deserves to be treated the way Op was. Fuck restaurants. I used to have this boss. I was a legal assistant at the time, who used to have me take live dictation by sitting down beside me and speaking as I typed. In the beginning he would raise his hand like he was going to hit me or raise his foot like he was going to kick me if I made too many typos. The second time it happened I looked him dead in the eye and said, "I've been hit enough times for real in my life. It's not a joke. And I don't need this job bad enough to put up with that." To his credit, he backed down immediately and never did it again. But if he hadn't, I was 100% prepared to walk. I had a dickhead boss named Fran who worked at Le Diplomate in DC. He literally hid my check from me and was avoiding me after I no-called no-showed their slave driving asses. Fuck that restaurant. I feel you up. You get your respect or you walk the fuck out. One day, a manager was yelling at all of us and I look around and notice everybody was just standing around, taking it. I finally had enough and told her, "If you're going to be disrespectful then you need to leave." She did not like that. We went back and forth a couple times. She was saying stuff like, "I'm the manager, you can't talk to me like that." I said, "I don't care what your title is." She says, "Give me your badge." I said, "I'm not giving you nothing." During the next day I was waiting on them to tell me I can't work here anymore, but instead, they hold a meeting with all the managers and us technicians. At the meeting they basically told everyone to be nice to each other. I've been at this job for 2 months and she's been here for years. Everyone who has been at the company for a while told me, that is just how she is. Why enable her to do that for so long? It's very important to set boundaries with these type of managers early on. She never looks my way. And I'd be willing to bet she won't ever get that tone around me again. At this point in my life at 30 years old, working straight out of high school, earned about 140 college credits while working full-time. I'm just not putting up with the BS anymore. I don't make enough to own a home, get married, or have children. I have nothing to lose. So there is no hesitation in me to put a manager in check. It's so satisfying to hear I'm not the only one standing up. Keep on demanding your respect wherever you go. I have gotten to the point where I take zero disrespect from anyone. Coworker, manager, district lead, regional, CEO, customer, family, no one. I work commission sales. IDGAF. I can walk out of my store and into nearly any store in a 10-mile radius and get hired with zero real effort. I've actively thrown multiple customers out of the store for their disrespectful attitude and rude behavior. I'm also the reason one of our most problematic trouble-starting employee that claimed discrimination every time an investigation on poor reviews or coworker complaints came through, finally quit, as I was not going to tolerate her disrespect and snippety attitude. When I see people stand up to their managers, especially disrespectful, my word is law. You ain't shit type managers. Got fired from Applebee's myself in much the same way. Warned them repeatedly that I've only got partial function in my lower back, spine, and they had me start on Mother's Day. Dude had me work the rush. Then when I told him I was in immense pain around 6 hours and he told me he didn't want underperformers on his team, and cut me loose. Mostly I think it can simply be explained by the idea that many people who excel in management do so at the expense of others. I got yelled at for taking 5 minutes to eat a piece of pizza during an 8-hour shift where I was getting paid $3 hour as a barback. He's like, I better not ever see you eating when I'm paying you again. I said you pay me $3 an hour. That's hardly enough to get to dictate when I eat. He got the bouncer to escort me out and then tried to intimidate me into not picking up my last paycheck. Sounds like that shit manager will end up doing the work themselves since they don't know how to manage. Then the customers stop coming BC, they get bad service, food, and the owner gets what they deserve. Don't ever let someone talk down to you like that. Good work up. I stood up to my GM disrespecting me on my second day at McDonald's when I wasn't even trained to use the tool she was yelling at me about, and she tracked me into management after a few conversations with me. She was a great force in my growth as a manager. Funny. As I was reading this, I kind of wondered if you might be talking about Arby's. The last time we ate at one, the manager was screaming at an employee so loudly that she could be heard from outside the drive-through window. My partner was the one who witnessed this and was too shocked to say anything at the time. So, I left them a nice Google review about it afterward. And we won't eat there again until they get rid of the toxic manager. After reading this, I'm thinking I should report the incident to their corporate office. 2. Good for you for standing up for yourself. I wish I had been there instead of my partner that day. I would have asked for that manager specifically, then told her that her atrocious behavior ruined my appetite, so cancel our order. I wouldn't be able to hold my tongue witnessing such abuse. As someone who is 45, I'm glad to see you and many others leading this charge. I have tried to stand my ground for years with the same result. Unless your job is saving lives, there is no reason to yell or disrespect someone. Managers that ascend for their own benefit and not the benefit of others need to go. Similar thing happened to me my first month working McDonald's a decade ago. Worked night shift with just me and the shift supervisor, and she was constantly yelling at me no matter what I did. Eventually I was having a bad day and said, I'll do my job. And you do your job. Making the food. And we'll stay out of each other's way. If you yell at me one more time, I am going to leave. Immediately. She lasted about 2 meters before yelling at me. I immediately took off my hat and said, bye. She had to run front and back the rest of the night shift. 6 more hours. Best yet, I went home. Changed. Came back with my uniform to return it, and ordered fries. I tried to use my employee discount, but she took it from my hand. Still had to make me my fries though. Was amazing standing there waiting with the 20 angry customers as she ran back and forth between the register and kitchen.
Edit. Clarity.
I was initially excited for this job and reluctant to get back into QSR. Negotiated $11 per hour to start, with the intent to put me into a lead position, essentially a crew trainer, at $12 per hour to start, which is decent in my area. I declined management because I just don't want the stress for my own mental health reasons. The GM was so cool at the beginning, but the situation grew too toxic too quick. And I've been in food long enough to know that you establish boundaries immediately or they won't be respected ever. They didn't accept my boundaries, so it won't work. Damn shame. I would have done a lot of good for their store. But bad leadership is what loses employees. I used to work for a truck equipment company. One of the things I was supposed to do is fill the spare gas cans every so often when they got relatively low. I did this at the same time I did runs to other suppliers to get parts for units we were building. At the time, on a particular day, I was about to get sent out on a parts run that was gonna take around 2 hours. I was already 6 hours into my 10-hour shift and I hadn't eaten breakfast that morning because I woke up late. I am not allowed to take lunch while out on a parts run, so I decided to do it beforehand. That's when the shop parts manager, who was not even my direct supervisor in any capacity, found me eating and went off on me. telling me, "It's your fucking job to fill the gas cans when we need them," and I defended myself, citing that letting 3 of the 5 gas cans stay empty for an extra half hour really wasn't that big a deal. He went to the commercial parts manager, who was my supervisor, and I ended up getting called into his office where he didn't let me speak a single time, and spent around 15 minutes going on about how my position was at the bottom of the food chain, how replaceable I am, and how easily he could terminate my relationship with the company through the temp agency I was on with. I realized then that I couldn't defend myself again, so I apologized, told him it wouldn't happen again. I wandered out to the warehouse, where we keep all the pallets with all the collected parts we need for various builds. We would tape papers to the front of them with the 5-digit build number. I spent the last 2 hours of my shift ripping all of those pages off their pallets, wiping every document and project I had access to on my computer, shredding every page on work documents on my desk, and going into our inventory system and transferring huge quantities of parts around to other branches that weren't actually going out. I'm petty as hell. Remember, at the end of the day, in addition to preserving your dignity, at least you made these 2 assholes' days worse, as they deserved, by wasting their time and providing a teachable moment for what they get when they treat a hire like this. Good on you. Wish you all the best.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.